All right, so let's call the meeting to order at 7:02. Everyone, thanks for showing up for the February meeting of the Bristol Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. First agenda item on the docket tonight is, as usual, the approval of the previous month's minutes. As always, the meeting minutes are available for review, typically not too long after the meeting in the cloud share. I will, as always, send a link around to everyone after the meeting. A link to that cloud share is also, of course, posted on the town's website. Hi, Tanya. Nice to see you there. So can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from January's meeting?
I motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
I second. Hello all.
Thank you very much. Let the record show that the meeting minutes from the previous month have passed. So as is custom, we start off with public forum. Note right now that it doesn't appear that any members of the public are on the call. I've been in the habit of, as Ian has suggested, I've been in the habit of making sure that notice of the meeting is posted on Front Porch Forum for members of the public, and I know the town also posts meeting notifications of it as well. So if anybody joins us later on, we will, from the public, we will let them know that they can, if they've got anything to bring to the table, they can bring it to table in other business section down the agenda, a couple items. Number 3, quarterly initiatives had noted, and it's noted in Brad's meeting minutes from last month's meeting that we want to get into. We're in that zone, February into March, of wanting to dial in what we'd like to bring in front of the select board as far as ideas and initiatives for a quarterly initiative. So let's discuss that right now. We'll go around and see if anybody has any ideas. I know we've discussed a lot of things historically, from the assisted sidewalks or assisted crosswalks rather, to the potential for more traffic calming, even though that type of idea theoretically is hitched to a successful implementation of it elsewhere in the town. I would assume that would be on Pine Street, but would love to open the floor up for any discussion on potential initiatives we would like to bring in front of the town, noting that Ian has given us guidance on initiatives that could be attached to potential grants. So it's basically, if we're thinking initiatives, it's great to think of in the same breath grants, because if we go to the town and say, hey, we've got this grant we'd like to apply for, he's noted that the select board is typically very welcoming of those things. And as a reminder to everyone on the call, in order to get grants, or in order to apply for grants, we need the permission of the select board. We need the sponsorship of the select board. So with all that preamble, I'd love to open the discussion up to the idea of initiatives to bring in front of the select board.
This might double as a grant. Just one thing that I was thinking about. I learned recently that the village portion, I guess, is a bit of a ways down, and just wondering, foot traffic wise, knowing that the nursery or whatever it is up the road, wondering if I don't know where I'm going with this, other than just to say, could we extend the sidewalk so that it includes all of the village? Just putting that out there just to see. Anyways, yeah.
Sidewalks, excellent subject. Brad, if you could note both that idea and a reminder for us to get an update from the select board on where the airport road I forget the name of the official name of the road, but the road to the high school, that project was, at least from a scoping perspective, was underway last year. So it'd be great to know where that stands, and also that's a great idea, just the subject overall of expanding the footprint of the sidewalks from the village police district out.
I know last time you had said you might check in on some kind of shelter building by the police station or something that might be able to be used for bike storage.
Yes, and I haven't done that, even though I stared at it 2 days ago and was like, I have to follow up on this. They are still there. I will, and I will get that done. I'll try to get that done within the next week, actually. There's two people I'm going to ask. In fact, one of them I saw this morning, so I'll reach out to them. I'll reach out to Meredith first at Parks and Rec to see if she knows what the story is with those. And then after that, I'll reach out, I'll reach out to Darla as well. I'll reach out and see if she knows what the story is with those as well. So I'll approach it both from the Parks and Rec standpoint first, and from the select board standpoint, understanding that it's on private property, but I never got the impression, looking at those shelters, or at those buildings, that they don't seem like private buildings. They seem like the kind of thing you'd see at a state park or something like that.
Right. And if they're not options, I'm sure it's an easy grant to go for to get some kind of bike storage or at least bike parking item.
Yeah, Tanya, to that end, I will, when I send around a note after this meeting, I'll include the link to that, to the to the bike rack audit. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's thrown any additional locations in there, but that's there. We've got our little kind of record keeping of the existing bike storage around town. So that'll be good cause to. I think you're right. I think that's a great idea, Brad, of putting bike storage on for the grant thing, or for the initiative/grant thing. Any other potential ideas for initiatives? And again, I feel like the easiest one is the assisted crosswalk one. That's, I don't want to say it's shovel ready, but all of the information, the knowledge, the steps involved and all that are already part of the select board's knowledge base. I think it's just matching that up with the locations we know that people want them at, either end of the spring to Pleasant Street run. And that's something that we can put together as well. So, Dustin, did you have something? You're muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. That what came to mind for me was some kind of assisted, like you hit a button and it flashes a light for the crossing at North Street by Pleasant Spring, where all the school kids cross in the morning.
Yep.
Like for sure there that seems needed. And then I do love the idea. I think it would be a lot more costly, a bigger ticket item, but like, some kind of like pedestrian bike path actually to like, to go like out the village through the Rockydale area, like by Blazes Trailer Park, all the way out to where like the Lincoln Road is.
Yep.
I think that'd be a great connector to like, that Bartlett Falls area and the Bristol Trail Network. It'd be a really nice thing for the community.
Yep. That's a great idea. That was, someone had brought that up to us in informal conversations last year, noting two things. It's the most dangerous and exposed kind of stretch of road going. It's where our bike shop, the town bike shop is. There's a big group of people that live down there, and there's also Bartlett Falls, and the fact that there isn't great access for bicycle and pedestrian is kind of strange, given all of the things that are down there. Brad, you got all that? Cool. Kevin,
Two things came to mind. One is more of a question. I know every summer, spring, the town will take the time to repaint the crosswalks. It seems like we're gonna have an early spring, so just wondering if that can be done sooner this year. I don't know what the schedule is. I'm not, Eric Coda does a great job with maintaining the roads and his crew. Just wondering what that schedule is, hoping that that can be sooner than later and that partnership with them. For me at the high school, I'm working with Locomotion to have Melanie come, and she communicated, presented with my driver's ed students first semester, and she'll be back again second semester. There was talk of trying to increase that education through the elementary school level, just a better awareness and more involvement with Locomotion. So I think that would be helpful going into the spring. Promoting bike use. And a third idea is we get a good showing for the 4th of July parade. So the state has resources where they could be giving out free bike helmets, having that van trailer be there, promoting bike safety, and whether or not that could be part of the grouping that's on the park. I understand every 4th of July, there's lots of vendors and there's lots of activities, but what's the process to be able to have that group, the trailer, promoting bike safety, and then they give out helmets to people that need them.
those are all great ideas. The last one, and it's something that we've discussed previously, is Locomotion's Bike Walk and Roll program, which did the Bike Walk and Roll Day once a month, every month through the school year, was the one that had been doing all the outreach for that van, for the helmet giveaways and all of those things, and the bicycle safety at the elementary school. When the rep who was, when the Bristol rep for it retired, they never refilled that position. So nobody stepped into it. I have not seen any call from Melanie or Locomotion for volunteers for that component, but it's interesting to think, that might be something when you do talk to Melanie, mention to her, ask her if they've done anything to replace the Bike Walk and Roll rep. Because that position, I believe, is about to go on its second year unfilled. And that was a big driver of that safety initiative at the school, as well as the distribution of stuff. But I think it's a great idea, the tying in the 4th of July thing. That'd be a perfect captive audience for that kind of thing. Do you mind sharing with us what the curriculum is that Melanie was bringing to your students at the school?
Yeah, I can share with you. Locomotion has a predetermined kind of created Google slideshow that she uses as the fundamental for it.
Yeah, cool.
And there's some basics about drivers being aware of how bicyclists will take the road. She gets into some specifics about the Dutch reach. So as a driver, looking over your shoulder, reaching with your right hand if you're on the driver's side, reaching with your left hand if you're on the passenger side, to make sure that there isn't a bicyclist, so you don't door check them. But that's also good for all types of reasons of why you should look before you open your door. So yeah, there's quite a bit. I can share the slideshow with the group. I created with her an observation sheet that students complete during the presentation, and that observation sheet an activity leads to discussions and there's personalization to it. So who in
Mhm.
their family are they going to share what they learned? Who in their family are bikers? Who do they know that are bikers? And it's out there to make it personal, but also real, and then for the future. There could be so much more long range throughout the curriculum. Through driver education, we talk about what's that mean if somebody has a bike rack on the back, if somebody puts bikes on top, what's that like with regards to their now the height of their vehicle or the length of their vehicle, and what's that like if you're following somebody and they have a bike on the back, or if someone has a truck and you can just see that the bike is in there, or the back tire or the front tire is hanging over the tailgate. So those different aspects as a driver, thinking about those risk factors and the different variables. So one thing we haven't done is talk about some of those localized hotspots for biking. For example, the farm that's on the Moncton Bristol Road, on that, I'm drawing a blank. What's that farm
Oh,
called?
New Leaf.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be the Howard Farm when
Yep.
I was a youngster, but yeah, New Leaf. And I don't know if there are people actively riding the trails up on Briggs Hill, Bald Hill in Lincoln. It's off from Colby Hill Road. There's a network of mountain bike trails up there. So I don't know if that's promoted or even allowed if it's on private land. So but again, what's my point is that's not something that's being emphasized as to where you can go locally. Is there a conversation of having the Bristol Trail Network become accessible for biking, or just sticking with it to be foot traffic?
Well, it's actually, I think they've always seen it, at least the majority of it, not, there's certainly sections that aren't, but the majority of it has always been promoted to a degree as mixed use. And like I'm a pretty regular user of the trail network, as is Brad. And historically, you would always run into people mountain biking on those trails, or you would see their tracks on it. Now, again, not the run down to the river. You wouldn't see it down there, but everywhere else, the people take mountain bikes on those. Backing up a second though, promoting these areas where you can go. I think we have outreach to the group that's doing the workout at New Leaf and has a I'll call it a 5-year plan to go much broader with their efforts and start connecting that trail network to other places that people either hike around or bike to. And it's a pretty interesting that plan that they have, that I think we could get together with them on and help promote together with the Tri-Town group that's trying to bring together Virgins and Middlebury and Bristol into one kind of promotable network or route of on and off-road bike and hiking trails. So that's something that we can put on our radar for the next couple months to start making some outreach back out to those groups. I had mentioned on the last meeting that we used to get invited to the Tri-Town stuff, but I haven't been in months. So I wonder if that organization is still active or if we've just kind of fallen off of their email list. I'm not quite sure.
Is there still a network out at the old Virgin's Waterworks, Bristol Watershed? I haven't been
That's
there recently, and is that a place that's being promoted for
that is
high-speed biking?
that is actually on the group from New Leaf's sites, as far as they're getting access and permission to go and rebuild networks out into there. Brad and I can both speak to some aspects of how currently inaccessible and inhospitable some of those trails are for biking. Obviously, they're great for hiking right now. But I know the group from New Leaf, which includes the gang down at Cool Motion Sports, that's part of their, I believe that's the next wave of trails that they're doing, is to connect, to go over the hill and connect New Leaf to the watershed.
Great.
Yeah,
I
it's
know-
pretty
I know
exciting.
that well. Mhm.
Yeah. And then the watershed is, you know, the routes out on Plank Road and Piney Woods and all that are fabulous bike riding right now. And we're seeing, we see more and more people who are for an area that's not widely publicized and well known, people are starting to understand how good those roads are out there for gravel biking and all that. So we're starting to see more and more people out there. But I think that a lot of that, again, I put under the auspices of this Tri-Town bike loop, because some of those roads were included in their plans, and I just need to reach out and see if that group is still active and what their plans are, because they were going to do signage and all kinds of things to promote all of that area out there. All right, well, that's actually a good chunk of stuff for quarterly initiatives that we can edit through. And I think that's 3 and 4 that goes into grants. I think those things really are tied at the hip because of the suggestions, pardon me, and guidance we've been given from the select board on grants equal quarterly initiatives and vice versa. The one thing I didn't do from last month that I need to check in on is outreach to the town grant writer, the new grant writer, and see just what the rules of engagement are with that, how we engage, what the best path forward is. I don't know if I'll ask Ian to find out if we reach out to the grant writer in advance of getting permission from the select board, or if that comes after the fact. Okay, so then we can jump to other business. Does anybody have anything to discuss this month? I guess this is the place where we actually discuss any matters of the moment or ideas that people have that don't fall under initiatives to put to the select board. I know we just covered a lot of really good and what I feel is actionable stuff. And Kevin, thanks again for telling us about what you've been doing with local motion. That'll be cool to see that deck. We can we'll make a copy of that. Does anybody have any other business they'd like to discuss tonight? Kevin?
Yeah, I'm gonna be mindful of some of the specifics, to make sure that I deliver a message well. There was a community member that approached me at the high school basketball game, and the community member was very frustrated with our proposal of having stop signs on Pine Street. He Longtime community member, big family from the community. He was very emotional. So I encouraged him to speak directly to our group. I encouraged him to put something in writing to our group. I made sure that I told him that I would tell the group of our concern. In a nutshell, he really thought it was, I won't use his descriptors, but he thought it was very inappropriate to have stop signs on Pine Street. He thinks sidewalks are for pedestrians and roads are for cars. And very opinionated about people don't need to walk down Pine Street. They need to go down Maple Street or Pleasant Street or other streets that have sidewalks. Didn't want to understand the rationalization of the loop. So again, I told him that I would bring it up to the group. I told him that I encouraged him to put his thoughts in writing because of his passion that he had for the topic. Again, a very involved community member, a very active community member. I can share his name. It was Mark Bouvier. He was a specific person. So I don't know. Has anyone else heard from Mark or his opinion about Pine Street?
I have not. First of all, thank you very much for sharing that. Very much appreciate not only you sharing that, but also being on the front lines of receiving the community feedback there. Before I make any comments, does anybody else have any comments on what Kevin just shared? I'll remind everybody for the record, and I know you all know this, but again, I'm reminding because we record these sessions, that in the broadest sense, we serve at the pleasure of the select board. In the case of the Pine Street traffic calming initiative, which was handed to us as our first project, and then more specifically to the stop sign proposal, those were, for all intents and purposes, select board mandated decisions that we had nothing to do with. We were asked to put together a specific proposal for stop signs on Pine Street that would replace the proposal that they wanted us to put together initially for just traffic calming in general. We did that. They received feedback in the meeting we presented it at that was negative enough that they tabled any vote on it. And I don't believe anything has further proceeded on the subject. So the Pine Street stop sign project is a project of the select boards that we put together a proposal for in our capacity as an advisory committee. And I don't know how many of you remember, but very early on, I had mistyped the name of the group, BPAC, as Bristol Bicycle and Pedestrian Action Committee. And Ian took me to task for that and said, Chris, your group is not an action committee. It serves in an advisory capacity only. And so from that moment on, I think our mission has been clear. We advise the select board our advisory capacity to the select board is things that we're proactive about, like here, we think we should be doing this, and things that they task us with, subject matter like Pine Street. So Kevin, feel free the next time everybody, this is advice to everyone. If you receive any feedback like that from the community, don't feel like you have to. I think what Kevin did was great. I would love to have this person. I would love to have Mark on this call, and we can remind him that we are the Bristol Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, not the Bristol Automobile Advisory Committee. That our charter, our mission statement is for, you can look it up, but it's for the safety and health and well-being of bicyclists and pedestrians. But I just advise anybody, if somebody comes to you with feedback like that, with the subject of the Pine Street especially, that feedback at this point is for the select board. We have, until the select board moves forward with anything, we've set our piece on the stop sign thing, and I'm going back to them. We're going to put together the original proposal for traffic calming, the advisory lanes, and put that back in front of them, because I feel like it actually answers the questions and concerns of a lot of people who did not want the stop signs. We shall see, though. Any other commentary on that? Because I obviously this is the exact kind of thing that we are here to discuss as a group.
I'm just curious what someone like him might say the pros are for keeping it as is. If he mentioned anything, like I don't know what the negative effect would be aside from just an annoyance of having to slow down once or twice. If there were other items that were bothersome.
I believe it was just flow of traffic, keep the traffic moving, keep the cars moving, keep the trucks moving, keep people that go up and down that street and vehicles moving.
Well, again, thank you, Kevin. That was, it's great to hear that kind of feedback, and it's part of the record now, correct, Brad? And it's something that, again, like from my mind, I don't know how you all feel about it. And we can ask Ian about this too. At this point, since we haven't heard anything back from the town and we're months past the point where the select board said they were actually going to revisit the subject, I consider the stop sign proposal dead at this point. And again, I use proposal in the loosest of language because we were tasked with coming up with a suggestion for that, provided it. And then we're, you know, I see us as moving on. They've got it. They can act on it. They can choose not to act on it. They can come back to us with questions about it. But you know, we live our lives through the windshield at this point versus the rearview mirror when it comes to a subject like that. So all the same, thank you. And obviously, like, we're all representatives of the group here. So hopefully people can, I hope members of the community continue to feel free to reach out to each and every one of us on subjects like this. So.
Out of curiosity, the other meeting when we met, I think it was Valerie had mentioned that the town had a plan, or someone had put together a plan for Pine Street. Have we seen that? In what that is, or what is being suggested?
There's Pine Street plan has come in many shapes and forms. This committee was actually formed on the back of a plan to put 3-foot advisory lanes on both sides, or I shouldn't say 3-foot. We came up with a 3-foot thing after all the research we had done, but advisory lanes on either or both sides of Pine Street as the first attempt to do a traffic calming exercise in the village. We were initially tasked with picking that project up from the ad hoc group whose work preceded the formal advisory committee's work. We put that proposal together. It's parked in our share. You can go in and look at it. That's where the stop sign thing came in. Just prior to us presenting the traffic calming, we were asked by the select board to park that, and instead of doing that, come up with a proposal for stop signs instead. The idea of a plan for Pine Street this second time around had come off of a couple of things that were happening in the background that I'm not fully aware of. One of them was the ARPA funding process. People had commingled an idea for spending some of that money, some of the ARPA funds on something on Pine Street. And I think some of that discussion, because it got a certain number of votes, got into the flow of conversation around these things, but I do not believe it ever manifested in anything formal. So we're going to refloat our initial idea for Pine Street back to the select board, and then they can do with it what they will. Though I will note, Brad, and again, this stuff is all now buried, and it's not buried, it's all in the cloud share. When we had initially taken over that project, the select board had budgeted money for it already and had assigned a vendor for it. So going back now almost 3 years, that money was set aside to actually paint those lines on Pine Street. So the only thing that was missing was the details of how wide the things are. Valerie mentioned last time around the idea of looking at what it would actually take to widen Pine Street. I think I made the comment, and I think you might have even helped me at one point. They would have to widen Pine Street considerably for it to become a legal 2-lane road. So it's interesting to think about as a Pine Street, all the Pine Street residents, what that would mean, because people would be losing parts of their lawn. That's what she mentioned, though, was that there was some discussion of looking into what it would take to widen the road. It wasn't necessarily specific to any of our efforts, though our efforts would probably benefit if the road was a little bit wider. Does anybody else have anything on that? Does anybody else recall any other details about that subject?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how this might play into it, but you know, with the water line project that just month to finish the road. Like they're not done with the road, and my understanding is that I don't know the details. I don't know what you could see, but back to finish repaving the road, I think there is a plan to fix some of the drainage involved and adding some elements so that the water sheds off it better, drains better in spots. So I don't know how to change Pine Street. I mean, obviously, if it's wider in spots, that will help the road. It could make traffic go faster. But I don't think when they come back this spring, finish it, Pine Street could look very different than it does right now.
Brad, could you,
But does anybody here have any details or know where we could see like what mountains is being done, like or putting ditches or what? I don't know. I don't have answers to that.
Brad, as a Pine Street resident, have you seen any plans for it, formal plans for it?
I have not, no, yeah,
Can you put an action item in for me to follow up with Valerie on what kind of formalities are around what they're gonna do there? Because Dustin, I think, like, I don't know about everybody else, but I go down Pine Street and I see it and I assume that they're gonna come back in and repave over it
Yeah.
and clean it up. Like, it doesn't look, it's like, yeah, they put, to your point, they fix they fix the water pipe. It's like, come on, you're not, this work cannot be done. The road is all scarred. So I always assumed that they were gonna clean it up. And the only other thing that we've got right now is that,
Coming back, I could be way off on,
Yeah.
you know, this is just what I've heard from mouth from people about town about they're fixing it and possibly wrong there. I don't know.
Yep.
But it might be worth an idea. You know, if there's some of initiatives this group that could be met, but going to be doing anyways, this it might be
Got
you know,
it.
the
So
kind of dubbed.
we'll reach out to Valerie and see what's in the plan there. Then I'll email her tomorrow actually on this. I believe she might be out right now. I think I got an out of office response to her this morning. So anybody else have anything else, any other business for this month? Okay, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. We got a
I
motion.
motion.
Ask for a second.
I'll second
That's
it.
Second from Kevin. Brad, please note at 7:41, we will adjourn the meeting. Everyone, hit us up on email with anything else. I'll send a follow-up to this meeting with a couple links in the next couple days. Thanks a lot, everyone. Great seeing you all, and thanks for showing up.
Byron.
Yeah.